I never imagined that a poor girl's kindness could change a millionaire CEO's daughter forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The rain poured down like it was crying for me. I stood at the edge of the bustling street, shivering, drenched. People rushed by, eyes glued to their phones, wrapped in their own worlds. But I wasn't invisible. I felt every heartbeat of pain, every hoarse whisper of fear clenching my chest that I was the girl nobody noticed, the girl who wore tattered shoes and second-hand clothes. My family was struggling. My mom worked 2 jobs, her hands trembling from exhaustion. My little brother depended on me. He was my world, my reason to keep going. But that day, everything changed. When I first spotted her, I thought she was a mirage. Standing there in the midst of the chaos was the CEO's daughter, Ariana. Her designer coat shone even in the rain, an otherworldly glow surrounding her. She had everything: privilege, beauty, wealth. I barely knew her name, but I had seen her on billboards, in magazines. Her life was a tapestry of luxury while mine was a patchwork of struggles. And then, she slipped. Her heel caught in a crack in the pavement. For a heartbeat, she flailed, panic dancing across her eyes. In that split second, I lunged forward, reaching out. My hand clasped hers. I could feel the warmth of her skin, the shock in her breath. "Are you okay?" I whispered, breath rapid, heart racing. The bustling crowd paused. Eyes turned towards us. My heart thundered in my chest. Would they judge me? A poor girl helping a millionaire? I held my breath. Ariana laughed softly, the sound like broken glass, sharp and beautiful yet fragile. "I am now," she said, her voice soft but filled with wonder. As she took a step back, our hands fell apart. The silence was deafening. People resumed their hurried pace, yet the moment lingered between us, crackling with unspoken words. She looked at me with a gaze that flickered, a mix of gratitude and confusion. In the days that followed, I couldn't shake her from my thoughts. A simple act of kindness had drawn a line between our worlds, and I felt it tugging at my soul. Was this the start of something, or just a fleeting moment in time? I could only wonder what would blossom from that rain-soaked crossroads. But soon, the whispers came. Rumors buzzed like bees, spreading tales of how a poor girl had saved the heiress. I heard them in the school halls, felt the sting of judgment on my skin. What if Ariana never dared to talk to me again? What if she forgot? And then, she approached me. But what happened next left me breathless. "Can we talk?" she asked, eyes shining with a mix of determination and curiosity. My stomach dropped. Did she want to thank me? Or perhaps, unravel a connection I barely dared to hope for? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The weight of the moment pressed down on me as I looked into Ariana's eyes. "Can we talk?" she had said, her voice a fragile thread woven with hope that fluttered in the chaos around us. I felt my heart racing, threatening to leap out of my chest. Did she really want to speak with me, after all of the whispers and stares? My mind raced with possibilities. Sure, I stammered, trying to muster a smile that didn't betray my fear. We stepped away from the prying eyes of the bustling crowd, retreating to a small cafe nearby. The scent of coffee and sweet pastries enveloped me, but it did little to calm my nerves. I was, after all, a ghost in a city that belonged to her. When we found a secluded corner in the cafe, I could see the flicker of uncertainty in her gaze. "Thank you for saving me," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. I could see the sincerity etched on her features, and I felt a warmth pool in my stomach. "You didn't have to help, but you did. It means a lot to me." I nodded, my throat tight. "It was nothing," I replied, but even I could hear the lie in my voice. It hadn't been nothing, it had been everything. The moment my hand clasped hers felt monumental, a bridge across our contrasting worlds. "It's not nothing," she pressed, her brow knitting together. "I feel, I don't know, different after that day. I've been thinking about how disconnected I am from everything." She looked down, tracing the rim of her coffee cup with her finger. "I want to understand. I want to know what you deal with." A lump formed in my throat. What could I possibly share, standing here in the warmth of this cafe? "It's hard," I managed, thinking of my mother's worn-out hands, of my brother's bright smile that masked his fear. "My family struggles. My mom works long hours just to pay rent, and my little brother needs me to be there for him." Ariana's expression darkened. "You're not just a girl from the streets," she said softly. "You're strong. I admire that." But her admiration only made the chasm between us deeper. What did she know of strength? What did she know of fighting to survive from one meal to the next? Just then, the cafe door swung open, and a gust of wind blew in, rustling the carefully arranged tables. An older man stepped in, his clothes frayed like mine but his eyes filled with a storm of desperation. A tremor went through me when I recognized him. He was a customer my mom had once served at the diner, always tipping poorly. His presence here, in this upscale place, felt out of place, yet somehow he seemed drawn to the light. Ariana noticed too, turning her gaze toward the man. "Hey, is everything okay?" she called out, her voice shaking me from my thoughts that he stared at her, confusion lingering in his eyes before he spoke. "Just trying to figure things out." His voice cracked, a sound that echoed my own silent struggles. Without thinking, I stood up and approached him, my heart pounding. "Are you okay? Do you need help?" He glanced up at me, surprise evident on his face. "No, don't bother with me. Just trying to find my way home." Ariana joined me, her warmth solidifying the fragile connection I shared with this man. "Maybe we can help," she offered, her earnestness echoing in my ears. His eyes darted between us, a flicker of hope igniting. "It's all right, really. He hesitated, as if revealing a great secret. "I lost my job. I'm just trying to figure out what's next." The words hung heavy in the air, wrapping around us like a veil. I exchanged a glance with Ariana, and I could almost feel the shift between us. This was more than just a conversation, this was empathy blooming in a world that had forgotten how to care. Yet, I also felt the familiar pull of my own struggles threatening to eclipse this moment of kindness. As we talked with him, I was struck by how fragile our connections were, like threads woven into a tapestry fraying at the edges. When the man left, the cafe felt emptier, almost hollow. I realized my hands were trembling, but I wasn't sure if it was from the chill or something more profound. Ariana looked at me, her expression layered with meanings I struggled to decipher. "You have something special," she said softly, and before I could respond, she leaned in closer. "But I don't know how to navigate this between us. You have your world, and I have mine." What if just as she spoke, her phone buzzed violently on the table. Her eyes widened, and she picked it up, her expression shifting from our shared vulnerability to one of concern. "I have to take this. It's important," she said almost apologetically, her fingers trembling as she swiped to answer. I nodded, the tightening in my chest returning. Alone again, I remembered the man's life briefly shared with us, echoing a truth I couldn't escape. Before I could dwell on it too long, I stepped outside, the cool air slapping my cheeks sharply. But as I looked around, searching for something to hold on to, a stranger approached me. Her face was familiar, and as she stepped into the light, my breath hitched. It was my mother's sister, someone I hadn't seen in years. What was she doing here? And why now? I felt my heart plummet. Would she be the storm that shattered my fragile hopes or the beacon of unexpected kindness I desperately craved? The answer could change everything, but the weight of uncertainty wrapped around me like a cloak. I was about to discover how deep this tale of unlikely connections would run, whether I was ready or not. The air around me felt thick with the weight of unanswered questions. My aunt's appearance was like a ripple through time, bringing with it memories I had thought long buried. I hadn't seen her since I was a child, before things had become so complicated at home. I could see in her eyes a mixture of surprise and concern, just as I felt an awkward churning in my stomach. "Is that really you?" she asked, her voice cracking in disbelief as she stepped closer. "I can't believe it. I thought you were lost." Defensive instinct kicked in, and I felt the urge to pull back. "Why are you here, Aunt Clara?" It came out sharper than I intended, a guard raised against whatever nostalgic truths she may bring. Memories of laughter, moments forgotten in the haze of struggles, felt painfully bittersweet. I've been looking for you," she stammered, glancing around as if fearful of being overheard. "Your mother, she needs help. Things have gotten worse since you left." My heart sank. I had known things were difficult, but hearing it said aloud felt like a punch. "I can't go back now," I replied, biting the inside of my cheek. The memories of leaving, of promises unfulfilled, rushed back like a tidal wave. "Please, just listen," she insisted, her voice softer. "I'm not here to force you to return. I want you to know that you're not alone. I can help, I can do something." I stared at her, trying to maintain my composure as 100 images filled my mind. My mother's weary face, the emptiness of the same worn-out apartment, the echo of my brother's laughter that now felt like a distant dream. Could I really leave this new life that seemed to be blossoming? Ariana had sparked something inside me I thought I had lost long ago, a sense of belonging that transcended ordinary connections. What kind of help? I finally dared to ask, desperately needing to understand if there was a bridge between us that could be crossed. "A little financial support at first," Clara said, her eyes pleading. "Just until we can get back on our feet." And then she hesitated, glancing at her watch, and I could sense the urgency behind it. "I'm trying to make better choices, for all of us. I just don't want to see your mother suffer anymore." A glimmer of hope flared in my chest, battling against the mistrust I held tightly. "But how?" "Things only ever get worse," I admitted, my voice shaking. "It's hard, and I don't want to drag you into it." Her eyes softened. "I came back to fight for you, for your family. We can do this together. You don't have to shoulder it all alone." Suddenly, a series of sharp noises interrupted our conversation. I turned to see a group of wealthy patrons entering the cafe, laughter bursting forth like confetti, their ease in stark contrast to the heaviness on my shoulders. I watched as they examined their surroundings, their glances passing over me without recognition, while my heart sank like a stone. Maybe we can talk somewhere else," I suggested, needing a moment to collect my thoughts without the weight of their judgment pressing in on me. Clara nodded, and as we stepped closer to a quieter corner of the street, I couldn't help but feel the tug of Ariana's warmth lingering. If I pursued this potential lifeline, what would it mean for the bond one was forming with her? Would the support from my aunt wrap its arms around us both or push her away? The air between us crackled with uncertainty as we walked and talked, Clara sharing snippets of family updates that felt as alien as they were familiar. Yet in my heart, another thread was weaving itself, Ariana's voice echoing in my mind, urging me to be brave, to embrace the unknown even as it terrified me. Just then, Clara's phone buzzed angrily, disrupting the fleeting moment of connection we were building. I watched her face pale as she read the message, her expression shifting abruptly. "I need to take this," she said, stepping to the side. Alone again, my pulse raced in the aftermath of revelations swirling in my mind. I needed to get back to Ariana before the moment escaped us and the weight of my own decision settled in like a shadow over our fragile bond. I pulled out my phone, feeling an itch of urgency to share everything with her, to explain the unexpected turn my day had taken. Just as I tapped on her contact, I froze, remembering the sincerity in Ariana's eyes. Would she be okay with the potential upheaval this could create? With a sinking heart, I pressed call. Hey, where are you? Her voice broke through the static, filled with warmth, but the undertone of worry tugged at me. I'm outside. Something just happened. Do you need me to come find you? She asked, and her concern felt like a soft blanket against my flaring anxieties. Yes, please, I managed, feeling the weight of the choices ahead settle on my shoulders. I need you here. As the line went dead, I couldn't shake off the feeling that I was standing at a precipice, one foot in the tumultuous tides of my past and the other hovering in a world of possibility that felt entirely foreign. And just like that, a familiar face emerged from the crowd, sending a chill down my spine. My mother, her eyes reflecting a mix of proud recognition and despair, as if she had just stepped out of a long-lost memory. Why are you here? I called, my voice trembling. The balance of uncertainty shifted for the second time that day as I felt the ground beneath me crack, waiting for what would come next. The world around me blurred as I stood there, momentarily frozen, my heart racing against the reality of my mother's unexpected arrival. Her gaze was an entangled mix of fear and desperation, a mirror reflecting my own trepidation, and yet there was something else, a tiny flicker of hope nestled within the chaos that threatened to engulf us both. Mom. Is it really you? It was a feeble attempt at grasping the enormity of the situation, my voice merging shock with a fragile yearning that felt as if it might splinter me apart. You shouldn't be here. She responded, her voice low and urgent, a stark contrast to the lively street buzzing around us. You have to trust me, please. Just get away from your aunt. Her words were a sharp knife against the fabric of my newfound connection. I glanced at Clara, who had returned, anxiety written all over her face. Let us just talk, okay? I want to understand. Clara shifted, her lips pressed tightly together as if holding back whatever storm was ready to break. We need to help your mother. I came here hoping to make things right, she said, her voice trembling, straining against the tides of misunderstanding between us. What is going on? I demanded, turning back to Mom. Why is everyone acting like I'm in danger? What happened? She stepped closer, urgency tightening her features. Things are not what they seem. I've made mistakes, things that haunt me. And what things? I interrupted, needing her to stop wrapping her secrets in shadows and just tell me the truth. Why did you come? The brief hesitation, the way her eyes darted, sent fresh chills down my spine. I've been trying to keep us safe, trying to protect you from them. That's why I had to leave. Who are them? The fear gnawed fiercely at my chest, and yet I felt a stronger pull towards Clara, my instinct still urging me to trust her. Why are you hiding what you did? Because I couldn't let you go through what I did. She spat, tears suddenly glistening in her eyes. You don't understand the world I came from. It's filled with people who care more about money than family. We were nothing but pawns in a game. Behind them, the transient crowd surged forward, laughter ringing hollow against the gravity of our conversation. As their cheerful voices faded into the background, I felt the roots of anxiety stretch deeper within me, tangled between the conflicting allegiances to my mother and the aunt I barely knew. I wanted to have a real life, I said finally, meeting my mother's gaze head-on, desperate for her to see the person I was now. I wanted to break the cycle. And Aunt Clara was helping me. Helping you? Laura sighed, her shoulders sagging under the weight of her own burdens. You think she is capable of helping you? She is caught in her own mess. There is more to her story than you know. You can't trust her just like that. The words cut into me painfully. Could it be true? My heart raced as layers of doubt began wrapping tightly around me. What could I possibly know about what my family had done, the secrets buried just beneath the surface? Isn't trust built on the truth? I replied, frustration edging into my tone. You didn't trust me enough to tell me why you left, so how can you blame me for wanting to understand things from Clara's perspective? A silence settled thickly between us, punctuated only by the chatter of the distant crowd. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown to an irresistible explosion, and I could see Clara's eyes widen with concern. "Please, don't ignore what I've been saying," my mother pleaded. "There are forces at play here that you have no idea about. People who want to keep us apart. If Clara's here, she's not helping at all. Just how far would this web of lies go?" The sudden tension crackled in the air around us, a mix of fear and something else, a raw anticipation of revelation laced with dread. Before I could respond, a sharp phone vibration from Clara's pocket interrupted the fragile moment. She pulled it out, her eyes growing wide with horror. "No, not now." "What is it?" I asked, my heartbeat rising again. She was already dialing back, her voice shaky as she spoke hurriedly. "I need to go. I have to." Her features were a whirlwind of emotion, the tranquility of our earlier conversation shattered. "Who is it?" I asked, anxiety creeping back in. "It's a matter of family," she replied, throat catching, eyes darting between my mother and me. "I'll explain later. Just promise me you'll be careful." Wait, I reached out, but she was already slipping back into the bustling crowd, swallowed by the throng of strangers. I turned back to my mother, who was watching me with a mixture of despair and determination. "Mom, what is going on? I need you to tell me the truth right now." But her eyes were distant, focused somewhere behind me, a look of pure fear clouding her features. "She's gone. She shouldn't have run off. You need to tell me everything you've discussed with her," she urged, her voice suddenly sharp. As panic gripped my heart once more, I felt it happen, an overwhelming sense of uncertainty flooding my thoughts. What had I just opened a door to? And as I turned to look for Clara, an unshakable sense of foreboding clung to the air, tightening my chest. In a twisted moment of realization, the ground beneath me felt shaky yet exhilarating. All I could do was hold my breath, aware of the unforeseen consequences waiting just beyond the horizon. The bustling street pulsed with life around us, a stark contrast to the turbulent storm brewing within. My mother's face twisted with a mix of protectiveness and fear left me reeling, questioning everything I thought I knew. Clara had vanished into the crowd, like smoke dissipating, leaving nothing but a void, a sudden hollow absence pulling at my chest. I turned back to my mother. "After everything, couldn't you have at least trusted me to face the truth?" I burst out, my voice shaky with a blend of anger and hurt. "I might have been naive, but I was trying to build a future." Her eyes fluttered with a flash of regret, but it quickly extinguished, replaced by a fierce determination that filled the space between us like a palpable barrier. "You don't know what you're asking for, sweetheart. The truth could destroy you. Or maybe knowing the truth could help me build something stronger," I shot back, the ache of betrayal forming a lump in my throat. "You always made me believe we could be free, that we had a choice. If only I'd known the choice was built on illusions." I could feel the weight of the past lingering heavily, like a shadow refusing to be shaken. Each passing moment echoed with the questions of what had happened between my mother and Clara, and what ultimatum had sent Clara sprinting away. "I need to find her," I said, wrapping my arms around myself, as if that simple gesture could shield me from the upheaval of emotions raging around us. "I want to let you," my mother replied firmly, her voice a tight wire fraying at the edges. "You don't understand the dangers. Not everyone is looking after your best interests. Some see you as a threat." "What threat?" I shot back. "What could I possibly represent? I'm just trying to find out who I am." But under the surface, I felt it, the tight coil of fear wrapping around my heart. What kind of world had I stumbled into? And who was Clara, really? Maybe I was wrong to trust her a second time, but that connection had stoked something deep within me, a yearning for the familial bond that felt real for the first time. Before I could spiral deeper into my thoughts, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket, pulling me back to the world around me. I fumbled for it, my heart racing as I answered the call, hoping it would be Clara. "Hello? Is this Ava?" The voice on the other end was clipped and professional. Who is this? I asked, my skepticism flaring. My name is Detective Harris. I'm afraid I have some urgent news regarding your aunt, Clara. Panic rushed through me, igniting adrenaline that turned my limbs heavy. What do you mean? Is she okay? There's been an incident, he continued, his voice steady yet thick with gravity. I think it's best if we meet in person to discuss this matter. I braced myself against the nearest lamppost, my fingertips trembling against the cool metal. Is she hurt? What happened? Please come to the police station. We need to talk. The line went dead, and in that moment, the world melted away around me. My mother's concerned gaze locked onto mine as the realization sank in everything I had built was about to be disrupted. I felt my knees begin to buckle. Clara, she's in trouble. My mother stepped forward, brushing my dampened cheek with her focus unwavering. We need to get to her, now. Mom, don't you see? This is all tangled up. I pleaded, the fear rushing in waves like a relentless tide. What if we can't get to her in time? What if she was right about you? What if you're part of the very thing that's trying to keep us apart? Her breath caught in her throat as the weight of our truth collided. Then we'll find a way to face it together. I felt a flicker of something. Was it hope or desperation? I had to believe my mother, even as my instincts urged me to run. Regardless, I couldn't just stand there paralyzed by fear while Clara's fate loomed, a dark cloud creeping ever closer. With one last glance towards where Clara had vanished, I whispered, "Let us go." And as we began to walk towards the future, the foundations of our past vibrated beneath us, holding secrets and unspoken dangers, pushing us toward an uncertain reckoning. But in that moment, just as I gathered my strength, something caught my eye, a dark figure watching us from down the street. I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over, that whatever we were stepping into was just the beginning. As I turned back, my heart pounding a disquieting rhythm, I barely registered the figure slipping away into the shadows before I felt my mother grasp my hand, urging me onward, and in our shared unity against the storm brewing ahead, uncertainty loomed larger than ever. The police station loomed before us, austere and unwelcoming. My mother's grip on my hand was firm, guiding me through the fluorescent haze of the waiting area filled with tired faces and hushed whispers, a world away from the life I had imagined. I could feel the heavy gaze of strangers, and my skin prickled with unease, every heartbeat echoing Clara's name. Stay close, my mother said softly, but her voice carried an edge that suggested more than just proximity. It was a plea to remain anchored in this storm together. The world felt heavy, pressing in on us like a weight, something more than the walls around us. A moment stretched into eternity as we waited. Time seemed to warp, a cruel trick that twisted our perceptions. I tried to read the expressions on every past officer's face, every flick of a badge. Were they compassionate? Were they indifferent? Or were they blind to the real troubles brewing under the surface? I closed my eyes for a brief moment. Everything before this moment felt muddled. Clara's laughter, her warmth, her steadfast belief in me, contrasting starkly against the churning chaos of uncertainty that now surrounded us. It felt like daybreak, turned suddenly to dusk. What secrets were hidden in the folds of my family's past? What choices had they made that now tore us apart? Detective Harris finally appeared, a slate-faced man in a neatly pressed uniform. The air shifted around him, heavy and serious. I could almost see the burdens he carried etched into the lines of his forehead. I swallowed hard as he approached, my heartbeat quickening in my chest. "Thank you for coming," he said, his voice deeper than I expected. "We need to talk about your aunt." I braced myself for the worst, holding my breath as he led us into a small conference room, the door clicking shut behind us as if sealing the air of hope I had clutched so tightly. "Clara was involved in an incident last night," he began, and the way he said it sent a shiver down my spine. "She's safe," but his words faltered for a brief moment, eyes shifting between my mother and me, gauging our reactions. "There's evidence that suggests something more serious is taking place. She's mixed up with a group that's been under investigation." "Group?" I echoed, my voice rasping as the words slipped from my lips like venom. What kind of group? Harris took a step closer, his expression softening just slightly. Ava, we have reason to believe that your aunt has been involved with an underground organization. They've been known for their aggressive tactics, extortion, threats. Clara may have stumbled into something dangerous. My mother gasped softly, and I felt her grip tighten on my wrist, panic seeping into her voice. She wouldn't be involved in anything like that. Clara is good people can make poor choices, Harris interrupted gently. We need to get to the bottom of this, and I want to make sure Clara is safe. But I need your help. Help? I stared, uncomprehending. How can we help her? She needs us to rescue her, not put ourselves in danger. Listen, he continued, a flicker of urgency in his eyes. There's more to your family's legacy than you know, and it's entangled with Clara's world. If you really want to help her, you'll need to dig deeper than you ever imagined. My pulse raced. It felt as though he were offering me a labyrinth, dark and twisted, full of mysteries that might unravel everything I thought I understood about my family. And yet, the idea of standing in the shadows while Clara faced any kind of threat made rage bubble within me, a fierce determination not to let fear quell my heart. Tell me how, I demanded, my voice strong and unyielding. In that moment, I could feel the ground beneath me beginning to shift again, but I would not succumb to it. I had to believe there was something we could do, a flicker of hope igniting against the shadows. As Harris explained a plan that hinged on gathering intel about Clara's associations, my mind spun with doubts and fears, but underneath that turmoil was a growing urgency, a resolve to act. As painful truths were unveiled, everything began to intertwine: the darkness, the danger, and the hope of redemption. Just remember, Harris cautioned as he finished, pushing a small notepad across the table, not everyone will have Clara's best interests in mind. She may have secrets she hasn't shared with you, and those could impact your safety. Stick close to your mother. My heart tightened at the mention of secrets, the weight of the unknown pressing down once more. Could there be more hidden beneath the surface, things I was utterly unaware of? Just then, a muffled commotion could be heard from outside the door, voices raised in anxiety. A sudden crash echoed in the hallway, and before I could register what was happening, the door burst open. In rushed a young woman, her hair wild and eyes alight with fear. Clara? I gasped, my heart leaping with both hope and horror. But the moment she stepped into the room, I realized the truth, that it wasn't Clara at all. The resemblance was uncanny, but something in her presence was different, filled with urgency and desperation. What have you done? She exclaimed, panic evident in her voice. We have to leave, now. They're coming for you. Our eyes locked, the weight of impending dread hanging heavy. My mind spun with countless questions, but as she turned to glance back beyond the door, every instinct screamed that whatever had been built was about to crumble down around us. Who is coming? What is going on? My voice hardly reached above the rush of emotions swirling in the air. What is most important is that you trust me, she said, her eyes piercing directly into mine, filled with an intensity that jolted my heart. I have information about your family, about Clara, and it's bigger than any of us realize. But we have to go now if we want to stay alive. And as her words hung dangerously in the air, I felt the foundations beneath me teeter on the edge of cataclysm. Were we ready to unravel everything we thought we knew? Would we risk it all for a love we barely understood? Before I could respond, I heard footsteps rushing toward the room, a storm of consequences brewing just beyond the threshold, drowning out my thoughts with dread. My heart raced. What had I stepped into? What awaited me in this tangled web of secrets, lies, and unforeseen dangers? The future stretched wide before us, a gaping chasm, ripe with uncertainty, and I was teetering on its edge. The young woman's urgency tugged at me, a stark contrast to the sterile calm of the interrogation room. For a fleeting moment, I considered Clara's laughter, warm and reassuring, and how much that warmth felt like a distant dream now. As I stood there, my heart hammered against my ribs, pleading for answers yet also filled with a strange sense of dread. "Trust me," the woman urged again, her voice pitching higher as she glanced over her shoulder. In that instant, I felt an inexplicable connection to her, a thread woven through panic and history, an outsider caught in a web of secrets as tangled as my own. "Who are you?" I managed, desperation creeping over my tongue. "Why should we trust you?" She hesitated, fear and desperation coiling in her expression. "My name is Elise," she breathed, glancing at my mother, who stood frozen, caught between protection and confusion. I was close to Clara. "She tried to keep me out, but it's dangerous. They know about you now." "Who knows?" My mother's voice trembled, breathless. "People you don't want to cross." Elise took a step toward us, her eyes scanning the room. "Clara is in serious trouble, and you need to understand this isn't just a simple mistake. It's much deeper. The organization she's involved with has ties to everything: corruption, violence, and even betrayal within families." "Betrayal?" I echoed, the word sending waves of ice through my veins. What if Clara hadn't only gotten lost in this chaos but had chosen to walk that path? A part of me resisted that thought vehemently, but fear twisted my gut with each idea that sprang to life. "It's true," she insisted, her voice steady despite the storm outside. "Clara was working undercover trying to take them down. But now they've marked her. And it's only a matter of time before they come for you too." My mother paled, gripping the edge of the table as if it were her only tether to sanity. "We can't just leave. There's too much at stake here. Clara needs us to find her." In Elise's eyes, I saw a flicker of something, the same resolve that had ignited within me moments before. "Then we need to act fast," she urged. "If they find you here," she trailed off, shaking her head. "We need to move, but you must promise, no matter what you hear, you stick to the plan. No shortcuts, no surprises." I felt as if the world had spun off its axis, each suggestion laced with risks I couldn't comprehend. Caught between the desire to dig deeper and the instinct to retreat into safety, I searched her eyes for something, an anchor, a hint of clarity. "But why are you here?" I pressed. "Why now?" A tangled mix of emotions flitted across Elise's face. "Because I was given a choice to save myself or to save her. I chose her," she admitted, her voice taut with emotion. "But I need your help too. They've promised rewards for anyone who brings her in. You're her family. You're her only hope right now." As she spoke, the footsteps outside grew closer, slicing through the tension of the room like a knife. Each sound echoed with certainty, a reminder that decision was slipping through our fingers like sand. I felt the hard truth nestle in my gut, a mixture of dread and determination flaring to life. Suddenly, the door rattled and a voice shouted from outside, "Detective Harris. Open up." The sound propelled me into motion, my instincts kicking in. Without thinking, I grabbed Elise's arm. "What do we do?" "Follow me," she ordered, pushing open a small side door behind a curtain, an emergency exit barely visible in the frantic haze of the room. My mother hesitated, but as the door pounded again, a deep set of instincts pushed her onward. We dashed into a narrow hallway. The fluorescent lights overhead blinked ominously, illuminating an escape route fraught with uncertainty. I could hear voices outside, commands barking like crackling thunder. As we moved, panic surged in my veins, propelling us forward but also deepening the worries gnawing at my mind. Was Clara truly working to uncover something dark, or had she become ensnared in a depth of betrayal we could never escape? Every step away from safety left me grasping for understanding, but also reinforcing the urgency. There was no room for fear now, just the need to act. "Where's the exit?" My voice was ragged, a reminder of how far we had strayed from the world I once knew. "This way," Elise urged, and we sped down the hall until she turned sharply into another narrow corridor. But just as we were about to push through the exit door, it swung open, revealing Detective Harris in the doorway, his face etched in disbelief. "No. Not that way. He shouted, reaching for us just as the world outside erupted. We were caught in the eye of chaos, breaths quickening, hearts racing, the future spilling out ahead of us like the shattered glass of the life we once knew. Get down! Elise screamed, shoving my mother and me behind her as chaos erupted in the hallway beyond. My heart thundered in my chest, every instinct screaming to run, to fight, or simply to survive. In that blinding moment, hope blipped onto the radar, a spark ignited by Elise's fierce determination. But at that very second, my mind reeled what had truly begun. The revelations and the bonds that tied us all could shatter into a million pieces, or bring us together against the storm. Just then, I caught a glimpse of the shadows rushing toward us. The darkness was closing in, and my heart plummeted into the void. Would we slip through the cracks of danger or be consumed by it? Each second stretched taut with fear and uncertainty, as I teetered on the precipice of knowledge, choices now woven with the threads of danger. And as the din of footsteps and shouts grew louder, I realized, whatever lay ahead would be a journey through more than shadows, it would be a battle for everything we held dear. The hallway erupted into chaos, a maelstrom of voices and feet pounding like the drums of war. As Elise shielded us, her body a wall of resolve, I glimpsed the face of Detective Harris, twisted by disbelief but marred by uncertainty. He was our protector, or he had been, before the shadow of danger had swept over us all. Stay back. I won't let you take them. He bellowed, positioning himself between us and the oncoming storm. Elise, we can't just stand here. My mother's voice quaked, her fragile composure threatening to crumble under the weight of fear. There's no other way, Elise replied, her eyes fierce with determination, scanning the corridor for a path we might take. You can't let him capture you. He's compromised. In that moment, desperation unfurled within me like a pack of wild animals, clawing at my insides, urging me to act. Every second stretched into an eternity, the tension thickening around us as danger crept closer, the unmistakable sense that everything was spiraling into something far darker than I could understand. Suddenly, a piercing sound shattered the air, a gunshot. The sound echoed in my mind, reverberating off the walls of my thoughts. I grasped my mother's arm, our bond strengthening amidst the tumult. The choices laid out before us were engulfed in darkness, but the instinct to protect, to shield her from harm, surged with fierce clarity. Elise! I shouted, my heart racing. What do we do? Through there, she pointed to a dimly lit door at the end of the corridor that appeared almost cloaked in shadows. Hurry! We'll find a way out, I promise. With the urgency of wolves on our heels, we bolted, the air thick with adrenaline and fear. My mother's breath came out in quick, jagged puffs as we raced toward the exit Elise had indicated. Each step seemed to rumble against a darker reality creeping in, feeding my anxieties. What if Clara was lost to the abyss? What if we weren't just fleeing for our lives but running from a truth we could never confront? As we approached the door, my heart thudded louder, a rhythm establishing the tempo of our mortal dance through the shadows. I glanced apprehensively back at Detective Harris, torn between allegiance and duty, confusion painted across his face. Was he friend or foe now? He's stalling them. Elise hissed, urging us onward. Don't look back. With a desperate nod, I pushed through the door into a narrow stairwell that spiraled down into darkness. The faint outline of emergency exit signs glowed dimly, flickering as if their own courage was wavering. I stumbled down the steps, my mind racing with thoughts of Clara. Had she faced this darkness willingly? Had she become complicit in something beyond our understanding? Each question twisted like a knife, and I forced myself to focus on the moment, the here and now, where every heartbeat counted. Keep going. Elise urged, her voice steady yet laced with urgency. At the bottom of the stairs, we emerged into an alleyway, the cool night air wrapping around my shoulders like a whispered promise of fleeting comfort amid the storm of uncertainty. I could see the street ahead, bathed in streetlights, but just as we stepped into the light, the echo of footsteps resonated behind us like an ominous drumbeat. Then I heard it again, the unmistakable sound of sirens in the distance, setting off a chain of panic in my chest. The promise of impending confrontation loomed, sharp and unrelenting. "We need a plan," I gasped, looking to Elise for guidance. "What if we get separated?" Elise gripped my shoulders, her gaze locking onto mine. "We won't. No matter what happens, you stick together. Understand?" Before I could reply, another noise cut through the air, a single, piercing scream. It echoed through the alley, a haunting sound that chilled my blood. "Clara?" The thought sent shockwaves through my veins, and I nearly doubled over in trepidation. "Go. Now." Elise commanded, and with a firm shove, she pushed us toward the street. We stumbled into the open, an expanse of stark reality, where brave faces collided with shadows that threatened to swallow them whole. My heart raced, the pounding in my chest urging me onward, even as every instinct screamed that safety was a fleeting illusion. As we rushed into the melee, I caught another glimpse, the silhouettes of figures rounding the corner, their focus trained on us. My breath caught in my throat, they were searching, eyes wild with intent, their movements precise and calculating. "Run!" Elise yelled, yanking my arm as we veered left down a side street, leading into an alley that branched off into darkness. My stomach churned with uncertainty, calling into question our very identities. Who were we becoming in this descent into chaos? But then, in a flicker, I saw her, a flash of recognizable sunlight abandoning the storm. A girl, clutching a worn backpack, stood on the corner, her eyes wide with concern and confusion. A momentary instance of kindness where chaos reigned supreme. "Help!" I called out, desperation spilling from my lips, a desperate plea resonating in a world where trust was shattered and alliances shifted like sand. Before she could respond, a hand reached out from the alleyway, ensnaring Elise's wrist. The fear in her eyes turned to determination as she swung back to face her captor, and in that moment, a brutal realization struck me: the world had shifted, and the person I thought I knew was entangled in a web I could scarcely understand. Then why world crashed down around me with devastating clarity. Was Elise not who she seemed? What if she, too, was playing a part in this dangerous game? As I melted into shadows with my mother by my side, the flicker of hope from the girl dissolved into darkness. A battle was brewing, fueled by a storm of secrets and choices that would bring the whole world crumbling down. And at that moment, standing at the precipice of revelation, I realized that the truth might consume us before we ever had a chance to breathe free again. The silence that followed the skirmish felt suffocating, the tension hanging in the air like the remnants of a storm. As I crouched silently beside my mother, my heart echoed the distant sirens that still blared ominously in the background. The alleyway felt like a grave of secrets, a breath away from the chaos that had engulfed us moments before. I watched as Elise wrestled with her captor, struggling for control. Time seemed to blur as anger and desperation flickered across her face, emotions colliding with an intensity that sent a shiver down my spine. There was a darkness in the way she fought back that left me questioning my faith in her strength. Was she truly fighting for us, or was I witnessing the unmasking of a part of her I didn't understand? "Mom, stay down," I whispered, my voice just above a breath. The fear I felt tore through my body like a tide, threatening to drown me in it swelled out. A moment later, I could barely register the figures filling the alley. 3 men approached, cold expressions etched into their features, their intent as sharp as the knives they carried. Panic pierced my heart with icy fingers. "Do you see that?" One of them growled, pointing in Elise's direction. "The girl's been playing both sides. She's a traitor." A sinking realization hit me. This was bigger than me, bigger than Clara and even the mess that had pulled us all together. I wanted to scream, to tell them they were wrong, to believe that Elise was innocent. But the shadows had shifted, and every ounce of my faith wavered as I watched the unfolding betrayal. "Elise!" I cried out, feeling a riptide of emotion swell within me, mixing fear for her safety with a desperate need for answers. "Get out of here!" she shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos, a lifeline buried under the weight of uncertainty. "Run!" But where could I possibly run? The walls felt insurmountable, closing in like a vice. Just when I thought hope would crumble entirely, the girl from the corner emerged from the shadows, her eyes alight with a fierce determination that seemed out of place. "Stop!" she commanded, her voice steady as she stepped forward, making herself a barrier between Elise and her captors. "You don't have to do this. Let her go." Surprise flickered among the men, momentarily breaking their focus on Elise. "Get out of the way, kid," one of them sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. "This doesn't concern you." My chest tightened as I watched the girl stand her ground, her courage reminiscent of a flickering candle against a raging storm. Against all odds, she radiated a warmth that underscored the darkness. Her defiance was a small ember of hope. "He's lying," she countered, eyes darting between the men and Elise. "She's not your enemy. She's trying to help." In an unexpected twist, the world around us paused as the battered dance between danger and hope crystallized into clarity. I felt my heart surge, torn between the instinct to obey Elise's desperate command to flee and the urge to rally behind this stranger, to soften my own heart against the coldness that had overtaken us. Elise seized the moment, propelled by the girl's bravery. She broke free, lunging forward to grab my hand. "We need to go now." I hesitated, the innate trust one day placed in Elise battling against a tidal wave of doubt. "But what about now?" she insisted, her voice laden with urgency, determination etching deep lines on her face. And just like that, I followed her, a blind pull forcing me to abandon reason for action. It was an instinct born from fear, but as we ran deeper into the shadows, I couldn't shake the feeling that there would be no escape from the truth lying in wait. That we sprinted through the alley, breathless, as sirens wailed in the distance. As we turned a sharp corner, I could hear them behind us growing closer, the very sound a relentless reminder of how little control we had over the chaos that was unraveling. Suddenly, movement caught my eye. A figure darted past, their silhouette blurred by the streetlight just ahead. "Over here. This way." My pulse quickened. Who was this? Did I dare trust yet another stranger? Yet my feet moved of their own accord, drawing me closer to the warmth of their voice. I glanced back, where Elise and my mother struggled to keep pace, and propelled myself forward. The figure turned into a parking garage, its heavy door looming like a fortress, a passing car scattering shadows behind me. "Quick!" The voice was insistent as they waved me in. Just as my foot crossed the threshold, the ominous shadow of a man loomed in the flickering light behind us, eyes cold with malice. "You won't escape this time," he bellowed, the cruel edge of his voice slicing through the air. Heart in my throat, I propelled myself inside, the door slamming shut behind me with a finality that echoed in my mind. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, yet the weight of uncertainty settled like lead in my chest. The stranger turned, revealing a familiar face, one I had believed lost in the mayhem. "Clara?" The name slipped past my lips, a fragile whisper that carried the weight of infinite questions, but all of a sudden, the darkness snapped together like a net. Clara looked different, her eyes glazed with a sense of betrayal I hadn't seen before, holding pieces of a truth I desperately needed to understand. "Why are you here?" I thought. I struggled to find words, each syllable tripping over the whirlwind of emotions swirling between us. "Because I have to show you something," Clara replied, her voice thick with urgency, and in those moments, the flicker of hope dimmed into uncertainty. Each choice we made weaved a more tangled web, and as I stood there, caught between two worlds, I knew there was no turning back now. The silence was suffocating, thick with unspoken words as Clara's gaze bore into mine, a mix of fear and determination. My heart raced, caught between relief and confusion. She was here, but at what cost? I fought to maintain the bond one felt, a lifeline tethered to years of longing, a sisterhood fractured by secrets and lies. "Clara, you need to tell me what is going on." My voice trembled, laced with urgency. Each moment felt heavier, the weight of our past pressing down on my shoulders like an oppressive storm cloud ready to break. "Why are they after you? What did you find out?" Her eyes darted toward the door, anxiety flickering in her expression. "They're watching. We're not safe here. We have to go." "Go where?" I demanded, a swell of frustration making my pulse quicken. You can't just drop these bombshells and expect me to follow you blindly. What did you uncover? I'll explain everything, I promise, she pleaded, grabbing my arm as if it were the only tether anchoring her to sanity. But right now, we are in danger. They know that you might be involved again. But I don't even know what's going on. I snapped, my voice rising in desperation. You left. You went dark. Do you think I can just come into this completely blind? Fear tightened around her as she searched my eyes, desperation morphing into urgency. This is bigger than both of us. I might have trusted the wrong people who don't care about us like we thought they did. There's much more at stake than what we realized. Just then, a pounding echoed from outside, the noise resounding down the corridor. Clara's face drained of color. They've found us. She hissed, pushing me toward the back of the garage. We have to move now. Before I could process the raw emotions coursing through me, Clara yanked open a rusted door hidden behind some crates, leading us into a cramped service hallway. My mother and Elise were still outside, somewhere in the tangled chaos, and the thought sent another surge of panic through me. Mom! Elise! I called out, my voice desperate, but there was no answer, only the cacophony of shouts and footsteps growing closer. I told you I'll explain everything later. Right now, we have to find a way out, Clara insisted, pulling me deeper into the shadows. I've seen what they're capable of. We don't have time. My thoughts spiraled with confusion. Would I blindly follow her down this twisted path she decreated? I had been born into this darkness before, forced to navigate a labyrinth of chaos created by her choices, but this felt different, coiled with the sharp edge of betrayal that threatened to unravel all I had believed. Do you really think you can outrun your past? I asked, my voice trembling as the weight of my feelings swelled within me. Or did you think this was just a game? It's not a game, Ava. They're dangerous. Just trust me, she pleaded, her eyes piercing deep, a flicker of desperation evident within them. We need to work together. You don't understand what's at stake. I hesitated, every ounce of trust 1D ever placed in Clara battling with a cyclone of fear for my mother, for Elise, for everything I had left to lose. But in that very moment, I knew I had to make a choice to trust her or turn back. The snarling threat of danger loomed behind us like a suffocating darkness. It was either faith or oblivion, and looking into her eyes, I could see cracks beneath her resolve, a flicker of vulnerability beneath the brave facade. Fine, I finally said, my resolve hardening, but you have to tell me everything when we're safe. Deal, Clara nodded, a hint of relief washing over her face. Maybe together we could seek a way through the shadows, but this was no longer just about her, this was about all of us. With Clara leading the way, we navigated through the narrow hallway, our hearts pounding as we wound deeper into the unknown. I could hear the muffled sounds of commotion behind us, the doors slamming open, voices shouting, and footsteps pounding across the concrete. Would they catch up to us? Where would we go? 1,000 questions crowded my mind, yet I pressed on, resonating with a fierce desire to protect what little I had left. That we burst out through another door, emerging into a vacant street illuminated by dim lights. Clara scanned the area before her gaze halted, locking onto an old van parked haphazardly at the curb. I felt a strange mix of dread and excitement at the sight. Get in, she urged, hastening her pace toward it. With hesitation creeping in my chest, I followed her, praying that this vehicle was our escape. Who owns this van? I asked, an urgent need for clarification gnawing at me. Is this even safe? Clara threw open the door, her urgency palpable. It's safe for now, just get in. We need to put distance between us and them. The world was a frenzy of shadows and uncertainty, and I slid into the vehicle while Clara jumped into the driver's seat. Just before she turned the key, I glanced back toward the entrance of the garage where we had escaped. My heart beat faster, instinctively attuned to the darkness looming behind us. As Clara's foot pressed down on the accelerator, I turned to the window, watching the lights of the city grow more distant. A spiraling knot of fear clenched around my heart. I didn't want to lose everything again. The thought of Clara spiraling back down into a darkness I couldn't reach struck me as we sped away. Can you tell me now? I asked, my voice barely rising above the hum of the engine. What's really happening, Clara? She hesitated for a moment, eyes focused on the road ahead, determined yet burdened. There is something you need to know about our family. Our connection isn't just blood. It ties us into a world we didn't choose. The words landed heavy as I strained to grasp her meaning. What do you mean? But no sooner had the question slipped out than a loud crash echoed, rattling the van, followed by shouts from behind. Clara swerved to avoid an oncoming car that had unexpectedly veered toward us. My pulse raced, realization dawning our past was not merely a shadow it lingered, informed our present. They found us. Clara's voice rose over the noise. Hold on, she barked, gripping the wheel with fierce determination as she swerved to evade another car. Suddenly in the rearview mirror, I spotted a familiar vehicle speeding up on us, threatening to swallow us in its wake, a dark silhouette against the night. Panic surged, and in that fleeting moment, I felt the ground shift beneath me, unraveling all that I thought I understood. What did you bring us into? I screamed as the reality hit, entwined with fear that splayed itself like a web around my heart. Everything you thought was over isn't, Clara shouted back, voice steady yet laced with urgency. Ava, we're on the brink of something bigger, a world intertwined with danger, but it's only together that we can break free. She pressed the gas even harder, and as the city lights blurred into a swirl of colors, I felt something shift inside me, too. Every beat of my heart pulsed with a new resolve, a determination intertwined with fear. If I had come this far, I couldn't turn back now, but then I registered the emotion welling deep within, an inexplicable longing for understanding. This was bigger than just us, it challenged the very foundation of everything we believed. And in the chaos of our escape, one thing became crystal clear: whatever lay ahead could break us apart or bind us together, more tightly than any family ties ever could. Each twist in the road was a choice, an illumination in a labyrinth full of shadows, where every moment brought us closer to either salvation or surrender. Where I once felt lost, I now felt driven by purpose. Maybe we could rewrite our story, but only if I was brave enough to embrace the truth embedded in our tangled past. But the road stretched endlessly ahead, steeped in uncertainty, each moment heightened with the potential to unravel not just our lives, but the legacy of our entire family. Then Clara glanced at me, vulnerability etched on her features, the chaos of her own past mirrored in my gaze. In the heart of the storm, we found solace in our shared struggle, a bond ignited by survival. As we sped down the rain-slicked streets, I grasped the moment, a new chapter unfurling before us. Whatever face we would reveal to the world, I refused to turn away. We would slay the treacherous shadows waiting at the edge, and together, we would uncover the truth. And as the wheels turned beneath us, an unspoken vow settled into my heart, echoing with fierce certainty: we would not be destroyed by what lay ahead, we would rise. Because in the direst moments, in the midst of calamity, hope had always existed, waiting patiently to bloom anew. And as I breathed in the steady rhythm of determination, I whispered, no matter the cost, we will fight. In the dim light of the van, something ignited between us, a spark fueled by the promise of unity against the gathering chaos. With every heartbeat, we maneuvered toward a brighter path, one of truth, a testament to resilience. No matter what awaited us at the crossroads ahead, one thing was clear: we would forge ahead together, facing the labyrinth of our legacy with unyielding hearts, hand in hand, ready to uncover our many truths. Whatever storms awaited us, I now understood this journey was just beginning. And through it all, one promise rang louder than any fear. We would rise.